Everyone is out here looking for the cheat code, the secret morning routine, the perfect productivity system, the one investment strategy that changes everything, the hidden formula that wealthy people use and never talk about. People are consuming courses, buying programs, reading threads at 2 in the morning, searching for that one complicated trick that's finally going to unlock their life. And here's the painful truth. It doesn't exist. The people who are winning at life, they're not doing something you've never heard of. They're not running some advanced system that took years to decode. They're not operating on a level so sophisticated that the average person could never reach it. They're just really, really good at the basics. And most people have completely skipped the basics, because the basics don't sell, the basics don't go viral, the basics aren't exciting. But the basics, that's where everything is built. So today, we're talking about mastering the basics, not the hacks, not the shortcuts, the fundamentals. Because if you can nail these, and I mean truly nail them, your life will look unrecognizable 5 years from now. Part 1. Master the way you communicate. Let's start here, because this one touches every single area of your life. Think about the last argument you had, or the last time a conversation went sideways and you weren't even sure how it happened, or the last time you said exactly what you meant, and the other person still heard something completely different. Here's something most people never realize. A lot of conflict isn't actually about the issue at hand. It's about how people are speaking and listening to each other, and most of us were never taught to do either one of those things well. We were taught to argue, to defend, to make our point louder when the other person isn't listening, to judge, to label, to come into a conversation already building our rebuttal before the other person has even finished speaking. But there's a different way to do this, and it starts with one idea that sounds simple but is genuinely powerful. Beneath every angry word, every harsh reaction, every hurtful thing someone throws at you, there's an unmet need. Not a bad person, a person with a need that isn't being met, and a limited way of expressing it. When you start hearing people through that lens, everything shifts. Instead of getting defensive, you get curious. Instead of escalating, you de-escalate. Instead of breaking relationships, you build them. And the same goes for how you express yourself. When you lead with what you actually observed, not your judgment of it. When you name what you're genuinely feeling, instead of projecting it onto someone else. When you make honest, clear requests instead of vague expectations, you stop creating confusion and start creating real connection. This is not soft. This is not weak. This is one of the most powerful skills you will ever develop. Master the basics of communication and watch what happens to your relationships, your career, your leadership, your negotiations, every part of your life that involves another human being. Part 2. Master your emotions. Here's a question nobody asks in school. How do you handle your emotions? Not how do you suppress them, not how do you push them down until they explode at the worst possible moment. How do you actually work with them? Because here's the reality. Your feelings are happening whether you like it or not. Every decision you make is being filtered through your emotional state. Every relationship you have is shaped by how well you understand and manage your inner world. We live in a society that worships intelligence. We measure IQ. We celebrate the people who can solve complex problems and analyze data. But there's another kind of intelligence that matters just as much, and in a lot of areas of life, it matters even more. It's the ability to know what you're feeling and why, to pause before you react, to understand what the person in front of you is going through and respond to that, to motivate yourself even when the task is hard and the finish line feels impossibly far away. Think about the most impulsive decisions you've ever made, the ones that cost you the most. How many of them happened in a moment of intense emotion? How many do you look back on now and think, what was I doing? Self-awareness is the starting point. Knowing your triggers, knowing your patterns, knowing how you default under pressure. Once you can see those things clearly, you can begin to manage them. And once you can manage them, you stop being a victim of your own feelings and start being the person who chooses how to respond. Empathy is the next layer, not just feeling sorry for someone, actually trying to understand their internal world. The people who can genuinely do this are almost impossible not to trust. They lead great teams. They build great relationships. They navigate conflict without burning everything down. Emotions are not the enemy. They carry information. The basics of emotional intelligence aren't complicated. Know yourself, manage yourself, understand others, respond with intention. How that? Master those 4 things and your life will change. Part 3. Master your relationship with time. Now let's talk about something that trips almost everyone up. time. Specifically, the fantasy that if you just find the right system, the right app, the right planner, the right productivity method, you're finally going to get everything done. You're finally going to feel on top of things. You're finally going to become that calm, focused together version of yourself you've been chasing. Here's something worth sitting with for a moment. The average human life is roughly 4,000 weeks long. That's 4,000 weeks from birth to death, if things go well, and most of us are spending a huge chunk of those weeks trying to optimize, hustle, and squeeze every last drop out of every hour, while rarely stopping to ask whether we're actually spending our time on anything that genuinely matters to us. The uncomfortable truth about time management is this: you are never going to do everything. You can only choose what to prioritize and what to let go. The people who feel most in control of their time aren't the ones who do the most. They're the ones who have made peace with the fact that every yes is a no to something else, and they've chosen deliberately. That takes honesty. It takes sitting down and asking, what actually matters here? Not what's urgent, not what's on the list, not what other people are expecting from you. What genuinely matters to you and to the life you want to build. Because here's the trap. We can stay busy forever. There will always be more to do. The inbox will never be empty. The list will never be finished. And if we let busyness be the measure of a good day, we'll be busy until the very end and still feel like we missed the point. The basic skill is this. Choose what deserves your time and protect it. Let the rest go, without guilt. Productivity is not a virtue. It's a tool. Use it in service of what matters. Part 4. Master the ability to keep learning. Here's one of the most dangerous things that can happen to a person. They stop being a beginner. Not because they've mastered everything, but because they decided, consciously or not, that they already know. They've formed their opinions, built their identity around certain beliefs, and now they encounter the world through the filter of confirming what they already think, rather than discovering what might actually be true. This is a trap, and honestly, most people are in it. The most important learning skill isn't the ability to absorb information. It's the ability to let go of old information when new evidence shows it's wrong, to change your mind without feeling like you're losing yourself, to hold your beliefs with open hands instead of clenched fists. Think about a time when you were completely convinced of something, and later found out you had it wrong. Maybe it was a relationship you were sure about, a business idea you thought was foolproof, a belief you grew up with that crumbled under scrutiny when you finally looked at it closely. How did it feel to let that belief go? For most people, it feels like a threat, like giving in, like weakness. But the ability to say, I was wrong, I have more to learn about this, I'm updating my view, that is one of the most powerful things a human being can do, because it means you're still growing. Approach your own mind the way a scientist approaches a theory. Test it, challenge it, look for evidence against it, not just evidence for it. Surround yourself with people who will push back on your ideas, not just tell you what you want to hear. Stay curious, stay humble, stay open. The basics of learning are not complicated. Be willing to be wrong, be willing to update, be willing to begin again. Part 5. Master the basics of money. Let's talk about money, because this is an area where people make things incredibly complicated, and where the basics are so simple it almost feels like a trick. Here's what most people get wrong about building wealth. They think it's about being smart, about picking the right stocks, finding the right opportunity, timing the market perfectly. But the truth is, financial success is far more about behavior than intelligence. Think about this. There was a janitor who quietly worked the same job for decades, never made a lot, never talked about money. But by the time he was old, he had accumulated millions of dollars, not because he had some secret strategy, not because he got lucky, because he spent less than he earned every single paycheck. He put the difference into simple investments and left them alone. He didn't panic when markets fell. He didn't chase exciting trends. He just stayed the course year after year, decade after decade. That is the basic. It's not glamorous. It's not complicated, but it works. The emotional side of money is where most people fall apart. The fear during a market crash, the greed when prices are climbing fast, the constant comparison to what other people have, the stories we tell ourselves about what we deserve, what we need, and what security actually looks like. Building wealth isn't a math problem, it's a behavior problem. Spend less than you earn. Invest the difference in simple, diversified assets. Leave it alone. Give it time. That is the path, the entire path. You don't need to be brilliant. You need to be patient, consistent, and you need to stop letting your emotions make your financial decisions for you. Master the basics of money and you'll build a life with real options, not because you found a secret, but because you did the simple, boring, powerful things that most people skip while searching for something more exciting. Part 6. Master the art of starting before you're ready. Let's close with the one thing that stops more people than anything else. Waiting until it's perfect. Waiting until they have the full plan, the full confidence, the full knowledge, the full guarantee that it's going to work, before they take the first step. There was a writing teacher who used to tell her students a story. Her brother was in tears the night before a school project was due. He had to write a report on birds. He hadn't started. He was completely overwhelmed, and their father sat down next to him, put a hand on his shoulder, and said, "Just take it one bird at a time." That's the whole lesson. Not a 12-step method, not a complicated system. One bird at a time, one imperfect step in the right direction, one messy first draft that gets better with every revision, one honest attempt that teaches you more than all the preparation in the world ever could. The people who create the most, build the most, contribute the most, they're not the ones waiting for perfect conditions. They're the ones willing to start ugly and keep going anyway, willing to produce something rough and learn from it, willing to fall down in public and get back up, willing to let the process be the point, rather than holding out for a perfect outcome. Perfectionism is not a high standard. Perfectionism is fear in disguise. It's the voice that says, "You're not ready yet. Wait a little longer, do a little more research," and before you know it, another year has passed and nothing has been made. The basic scale of creativity is this. Start. Start before you feel ready. Start with what you have. Trust that the next step will reveal itself once you begin moving. Overall, the basics are the advanced work. So let's bring it all together. Master your communication. Speak and listen in ways that connect rather than divide. Learn to hear what's beneath the words and express what's beneath your own. Master your emotions. Know yourself deeply. Manage your responses with intention. Build real empathy for the people around you. Master your time. Choose what matters. Protect it. Let the rest go without apology. Master the ability to keep learning. Stay curious. Challenge what you think you know. Change your mind when the evidence calls for it. Master the basics of money. Earn, save, invest, wait. It's not complicated. It requires discipline, not genius. And master the courage to start. Stop waiting for perfect. Begin with what you have and trust the process to reveal the rest. None of this is new. None of it is secret. None of it requires a special background or a head start or a certain kind of life. These are the basics, and they are powerful enough, on their own, to build something extraordinary. The world will keep selling you complicated. It'll keep promising shortcuts and hacks and advanced strategies that the average person doesn't know about. But the people who are genuinely thriving, the ones who are truly at peace with who they are and what they're building, they went back to the basics, and they stayed there. The most advanced thing you can do right now is master the fundamentals. Start today. Start simple. One bird at a time.